It all begins at a rooftop where a kid, Jin-soo, was getting beaten up badly by some bullies. He was acting strange and even tries to fight back, but they then throw him to the ground and he is taken to a hospital and found by his father, Byung-chan. After hearing his son growl and act like a zombie, he had no chance but to kill him and take his body, but Jin-soo was somehow still alive. At Haeosan High School, everyone was doing their work when a girl, Hyun-ju, finds a crazy acting rat and gets bit by it. She's found by Byung-chan, who's a teacher there, and he takes her captive to not let her escape. The students have rumors that Byung-chan smells like a corpse and has been acting weird since his son disappeared. But what they didn't know was that he's been keeping another student captive. On-jo, a smart student, doesn't get enough support from her paramedic dad, who doesn't want to pressure her. Her friend Cheong-san lives next door and they go to school together. At school, the bully, Gui-nam, threatens Yoon-ji and Cheon-soo because they mentioned him in the disappearance of Jin-soo. He makes Yoon-ji strip and makes Cheon-soo film it, but they were stopped by Soo-hyuk. Everyone was wondering where Hyun-ju had disappeared off to, but no one knows she's being kept prisoner by Byung-chan. In class, Yoon-ji had to excuse herself along with Hee-sun, but then an escaped Hyun-ju comes stumbling into the class, bloodied and growling, so the teachers call the hospital. The paramedics led by On-jo's dad come and take the infected kid. Byung-chan was too late to realize that she'd escaped and calls the hospital to keep her quarantined, but gets arrested for abducting her. Meanwhile, the school nurse had been bitten by Hyun-ju, so she starts to turn into a zombie as well, and while Gui-nam films it, his friend gets bitten and turns too, and goes around biting everyone. Yoon-ji was ready to end her life on the roof, but is stopped when she sees all the infected students jumping out of the windows. The zombies were everywhere and they all run into the school cafeteria, terrifying the students. The teachers have a meeting on how to handle this, but Sun-hwa, who's tired of the arguing, goes to tell the students about the event, but runs into a swarm of infected zombies. Meanwhile, in the cafeteria, On-jo is saved by Cheong-san from the kitchen fire, and Gui-nam was also there as a survivor. He fights off some of the zombies, but he was just as scared as the others, and even hides under a kitchen table. Cheong-san and On-jo don't want to stay here, so they fight off the zombies and make their way into their classrooms. Others make it there too, like Soo-hyuk and Ae-sak. At the police station, Byung-chan was being interrogated by Detective Song, who suspects he's killed his son too. Byung-chan was the one responsible for this because he was the one who created the virus, which is now infecting everyone. Emergency services don't know how to handle all the calls, and so Ju, On-jo's dad, also rushes to the school after a fire was called in. In the school, Coach Kang gets into the classroom, but he's infected and turns, while inside, along with Min-ji, who's also infected the students, now needs to flee, so Dae-soo uses a door to force their way through the zombies and make it to another classroom. Sun-hwa, who was still alive, reaches the broadcast room and tells the students to either leave or find a safe place, and this draws all the zombies back inside. Back in the school, while Ae-sak was telling On-jo that Cheong-san likes her, she starts getting cold and bleeding from her nose, and apparently she's infected. So she is dropped from the window, and the students then use a hosepipe to rappel down into the broadcast room, where they find Sun-hwa. Soo-hyuk is now alone and trying to fight off everyone at the same time. Cheong-san lets On-jo go first down the hose, but it was too late for him and he gets pushed out of the window. At the station, Byung-chan finally admits to starting the zombie outbreak to Detective Song, and meanwhile, Hee-soo, who's actually pregnant, had to give birth alone in a bathroom by herself. At the same time, Cheong-san didn't actually fall to the ground and has held on to the hose, but when a zombie grabs his leg, he is saved by Soo-hyuk in a crazy way. The infection was spreading everywhere now, and even Hee-soo must run from them while holding her newborn baby. Someone filmed this and put it online, where the kids in the school see it. A fight then breaks out between Na-hyun, who's some sort of a leader, and Gyeon-soo. While he was fighting fighting a zombie, Soo-hyuk accidentally hits Kyung-soo in the nose, which gives Na-hyun to claim he's infected, and she doesn't even apologize when he turns out to be okay. But he still has a scratch on his hand, so he's sent to the recording room to see if he ends up being infected or not, and Gui-nam was also alive and manages to get to safety. Meanwhile, Cheong-san's mom sees the news about the school being overrun by zombies and gets on a bike to find her son. Soju also knows how bad things are getting after he sees an infected person tied to a chair, and the police have taken action now and are going to fight back against the zombies. When trying to avoid the police and zombies, Chung-san's mom runs into Hee's son with her baby but runs away, leaving the woman to face the zombies. At the school, Kyung-soo isn't happy, so Sun-hwa sends Na-hyun to apologize, but he actually ends up being infected, proving Na-hyun right. He leaves on his own and Chung-san helps him by whistling their favorite song, and he jumps out of the window to join the other zombies. But Nam-ri saw Na-hyun infect Kyung-soo intentionally using blood from a broom, and she admits to it and runs off. The others wanted to kill her, but Sun-hwa calms them all down and saves Na-hyun from zombies, and then a helicopter shows up. In the city, a YouTuber is headed to the school just to see if the infection and zombies are all real. Meanwhile, as the helicopter gets closer to the school, Cheong-san's mom sees Kyung-soo and calls out to him, but he was infected and the zombies kill her. Yeon-ji and Chul-soo were on the roof, looking at the violence below. They were still angry at what happened and wanted to pay back the bullies, and inside, the students all need to go to the bathroom, and An-jo comes up with a solution that works. Her dad was also having trouble organizing his group across town, but he manages to get everyone under control. Meanwhile, Gui-nam was still fighting zombies to survive, while the archers are stuck in the bathroom, and things get heated enough, and Min-jae and Mi-jin get into a fight. Byung-chan did all of this as a way to accelerate human evolution, to weed out the weak and make them stronger, like his son, who'd been bullied for a long time and did not get the justice that he deserved, so Byung-chan infected him in hopes that he will be strong enough to fight back. But the interrogation had to stop because the zombies have reached the station, and as they fight the zombies, Song is saved by Byung-chan, who gets bitten but doesn't act like the other infected zombies, giving Song a clue that there might be a cure for all this on Byung-chan's laptop. At the school, the helicopters were seen flying into the city, and Nam-ri brings up that they need to find water and food soon, and they decide to get to the teacher's office to find a phone and find out their next step. Yoon-ji also decides to find Gui-nam's phone, which has her nude video, which she was going to release by 9 AM, which has passed now. She reaches the office and smashes up most of the phones that Cheong-san and Soo-hyuk wanted, leading to the two getting separated as they fought the zombies. At the office building, So-ju and the firemen hold off the zombies to let the congresswoman and others escape, as he is left alone while trying to buy them time, and he might have been infected in the process of saving the others to get to the helicopter. At the school, Cheong-san ends up in the principal's office with a phone when he finds Gui-nam, who ends up killing the principal, while Cheong-san films him, and he chases Cheong-san and hits him in the back with a knife. In the hallway, Ha-raj uses her bow and arrow to take down some zombies to try and escape. Meanwhile, in the broadcast room, the kids were losing hope since the helicopters didn't land there. So-ju had actually survived, but the government had decided martial law in the city and quarantined it, and this turns the rest of the country against the city, with fights breaking out. At school, Cheong-san was hit by the handle of the knife and was still alive as he was chased by Gui-nam. Cheong-san manages to throw Gui-nam to the zombies and gets to the library. The government has now decided to cut off communication from the city to keep the breakout as secret as possible. They promise to save as many people as they can, but things don't look good for the people inside, especially the kids, with the charge on the phone being just 6%. The students in the broadcast room decide to use a drone to locate Cheong-san, but they don't spot Min-ji and the others as they escape to the outside in a dumpster. The kids fly the drone further outside, where they find cars smashed up, including Ji-min's dad's truck, who turned into a zombie along with his wife, but before they could search more, the drone loses power. Meanwhile, Song and another officer make it to Chung-san's mom's chicken shop, and they find an infected Hee-soo tied up in her baby. At the same time, Soju and the congresswoman are taken to an island, which is serving as a quarantine zone for the survivors. They will be observed for a few days to see if they are infected, and there are also other people packed into the cells. Nam was still alive, but his infection was different, just like Byung-chan's. With the mutated virus, he was looking for Cheong-san for revenge, and on the roof, Cheol-so leaves an SOS message, but Yeon-ji was still alive, even after being bitten. And meanwhile, Ji-min, after seeing her parents have turned into zombies, wanted to die herself, but the others save her. Nam-ra then comes up with the idea to use the noise from the speakers to distract the zombies and escape, and Soo-hyuk uses the mic to tell Cheong-sam to hold tight, but Nam also listens to this and heads to the broadcast room. The zombies were distracted by the speakers, and when the kids sneak out, they are seen by one zombie, but they manage to make it to safety. Nam discovers their plan and is now after them. He finds Soo-hyuk and Nam-ra, tries to intervene but gets bitten, and they knock Nam out of the window and they escape, and the rest find Cheong-san but are now surrounded and with a bitten Nam-ra. Out on the island, they were told that they were being kept there for at least 4 weeks, so Soju decides to escape, and he takes out a guard and takes the uniform along with Yusin, and they escape to save his daughter. Cheong-san tells the others about the condition of Nam and that Nam-ra might be experiencing the same type of infection. Soo-hyuk stands by her while the others want her dead, and it's clear that she's infected, but she's experiencing the same type as Nam, with her being in some kind of control over the virus. When he sees the others need to kill her, Soo-hyuk ties himself to Nam-ra to take responsibility for her, and outside, Song steps out of the kitchen shop and finds a little girl whose mom was infected, so he brings her back. Soju manages to escape with help from Yusin, but he still needs to get off the island, and as the kids record message in case they don't survive, Soju manages to get away from the guards and into the water even while being shot. A military group called Shadow Gamma was taking out zombies room by room while looking for survivors. They are led by Jae-jun, but he gets bit and quickly turns into a zombie himself. At the same time, Soju had made it to the mainland after swimming the whole day with a bullet wound, and back at the school, Nam-ra thanks Soo-hyuk for staying with her to keep the rest calm from being scared of her. He did all of this because he likes her, and they even share a kiss. Meanwhile, Yoon-ji was still in the nurse's office and finds young Nam. She eats a fish because she was hungry, and then turns to young Nam, who couldn't fight her off, and she turns him into a zombie. Nam-ra has heightened senses and can hear all of this go down. Outside, Nam runs into his old leader, Myung-hwan, who was still alive, and slaps him and tells him to get the car, but Nam feeds him to the zombies, breaking free from his pressures. Back inside, On-jo and Nam-ra finally get along and come up with a risky plan to get to the roof, and they lure the zombies in with music so they can escape. Meanwhile, Song and Ho-chul use a bike to make it to safety, with the kids on the delivery bike, and they get to the suburbs and find the YouTuber. On the island, the congresswoman tells Seon-moo, who was in charge, that they need to save the kids in school, and that is where Soju was headed also. So Seon-moo sends a helicopter to search the area, and at the same time, the kids get to the roof, but Chol-soo was already there, refusing to open the door for them. They use a tarp to try to hold off the zombies, but that wasn't working, and things get worse when Nam also shows up looking for Chang-san. Yoon-ji sees all the people that used to bully her back when they were human, but she then decides not to let it go and sprays gas everywhere and sets fire to the class. She watches it burn for a moment as she smiles until the sprinklers turn on. The soldiers arrive at the roof, but Chol-soo doesn't tell them about the other students, saving only himself. When they break through the door, it was too late since the soldiers were already gone. The kids downstairs with Min Jae decide to follow the others to the roof and coming up with their own plan to get there. And after this, the students decide to make another bold SOS sign in case someone else sees it or the soldiers come back. Song and the YouTuber were also stuck on a rooftop trying to get away from the zombies, and that's when Ho Chul shows up with a bus and takes them all away and on a bit of a road trip into the night. Meanwhile, the group was having a conversation while the fire gets going downstairs, and Na-hyun manages to get out and find the camera where the kids have recorded their messages. But she gets found by Gui-nam, who bites her neck, and back on the roof, the kids talk about their feelings and life while sitting around the fire, where Chung-san finally tells Onjo his feelings for her, and she gets up and walks away, but he follows her, so she had to tell him to give her some space. As they all sit on the roof, Gui-nam manages to climb up the outside of the building on the rooftop, and he uses Onjo as bait to get Chung-san, and after throwing him to the ground, he starts to push his thumb into his eye. Everyone tries to fight off Gui-nam, but he was clearly too strong for all of them and doesn't even get hurt by weapons. The only one that can handle this is Nam-ra, and she uses her powers to throw him down to the ground from the top, but he just gets back up again like nothing happened to him. Jae-jun was being watched at the quarantine center, and they want to find the origin of the virus, but they learn that the virus's RNA changes all the time, meaning it has a mind of its own. They then get a message from Song telling them about the kids at the school and also the laptop that may have the cure, so the soldiers come up with a plan to get the laptop. On the ground, Chol-soo finds Yoon-ji at the camp and runs over to her, and she seems odd to him and when he tries to give her his food, but she wants to eat him. Back at the school, the helicopter shows up again, but they were here to get the laptop and the kids are surrounded by soldiers with guns. They take the kids' temperatures and just pass off Nam-ra's low temperature as hypothermia. The soldiers make their way inside and start shooting the zombies and find the laptop, and they get back up and start taking the kids one by one. At the quarantine site, Seon-moo realizes that the virus is mutating faster than he thought and can't differentiate between the infected and the uninfected, so he gives the order to shoot everyone on the roof. The soldier refuses but leaves the kids there alone once again, only taking the laptop, and meanwhile, Soju was still on his way to the school but gives his gun to someone in need. They've gotten Yoon-ji captive now, and they were trying to figure out just how the virus mutated in her. The others were under strict rule, even the congresswoman, and the storm arrives over the town and Chung-san gets the idea to use the thunder to disguise their movement and escape to the mountains. They head out to the front led by Chung-san, and they're shocked when they run into Chung-san's mom, who's now a zombie. While Chung-san wants to save his mom, Da-soo bashes her head with a pipe, and the rest pile on, but he stops them, and they pull him away, but his shouting triggers the zombies to come looking for them. The other students weren't far behind, and Ji-min sacrifices Na-hyun to get away, but Ha-ri was there with her guys to save her from being eaten. And everyone makes it to the gym, but it was full of zombies, so they run, but Jun-sung was caught and killed, and the rest hide inside a storage cupboard for the night. The virus changes too quickly to develop a vaccine, but the scientists create their own type of virus, confirming Byung-chan's research, but it was too late now to stop it since it started to spread to other places. Seon-moo and the others were deciding to give up the city and saving the politicians, but the congresswoman doesn't want to give up just yet. At the school, everyone gets to meet each other properly and share a chocolate bar amongst themselves, and they come up with their next step together, and they decide to put on an armor and move on to the trolleys to get to the door. They get to moving and slowly but surely make it to the door. Meanwhile, the politicians come up with a plan to bomb the city and to keep the virus from spreading even further. Soju was still making his way to the school and was now very close when he gets to the construction site. When the kids make it to the door, they see it has changed from outside, but Soju arrives just in time to open the door and get them out of there. Soju was finally reunited with his daughter as they all escape the zombies in the gym, and they go back the way he came from, but they get caught at the tennis court by the zombies, and Soju uses a flare gun to distract the zombies and escape, but that was not all. He uses his whistle to draw the zombies toward him so the kids can escape because he had been bitten and would not have survived anyways, so he says goodbye to his daughter and the kids make it past the construction site after hiding from the zombies. Meanwhile, Guinam has caught Min Jae, and after interrogating him, he bites him and turns him into a mindless zombie. At the same time, Seon-woo was told of the plan to use sound to lure out the zombies and use a missile strike to kill them all, both infected and uninfected. At the construction site, Namra hears what's going on the helicopter using her super hearing, but before they could come up with a place to hide, Guinam shows up and bites Cheong-san's arm and then is thrown down to the ground. Cheong-san decides to sacrifice himself after being bitten and gives Onjo one last hug and goes to confront Guinam to let the others escape to the mountain. The bombs land, exploding the designated areas, but the kids manage to get out just in time, but Guinam and Cheong-san are killed by the fire. Seon-woo will be sending the troops to check what's left, but feels responsible for the deaths of all of those civilians, and after watching a video of Byung-chen killing his own wife and son, instead of resting, Seon-woo ends his own life. The place is destroyed, Guinam and Cheong-san's bodies are lying amongst the dead zombies, and at the quarantine center, the congresswoman refuses to resign and be part of this death. The little girl cries after seeing the carnage, and even Son was shocked. Meanwhile, Onjo comes back to the construction site with the others to hopefully find Cheong-san, but Namra doesn't send anything, so she tells Onjo to leave before they see something horrific. In the morning, the soldiers arrive and move from street to street to clear out anything or anyone who might have survived, and the kids also make it back to the city, but despite it looking clean, Namra still senses zombies around the area, and they all want to fight back and run into a horde of zombies. As the fight starts, Woo Jin is bitten while saving Ha-ri and is killed by Namra, who gets everyone away. She was starting to feel hungry, now she stays back and bites her own wrist to distract herself from it. Soo-hyuk notices her absence and goes to find her with Onjo, and they find her feeding on a dead corpse and try to take her back, but she was so hungry that she grabs Onjo, and Soo-hyuk couldn't find the guts to hit her, and Onjo even gives her permission to bite her, but she just runs away. The others surrender to the soldiers and get taken to the quarantine zone, but don't want to cooperate since they were left to die by the soldiers. 4 months later, a martial law is lifted and the government decides not to look into the bombings. Onjo gets past the wall at night and visits the site of Cheong-san's death, but she notices a campfire light from a distance, and she gets back to the camp and tells Soo-hyuk about the fire, so they go back out to look at it with the others. They find the fire on the roof of the school, and they find Namra there, who misses her friends and is glad to see them again, but she sadly can't join them on her return. The series ends with Namra promising to stay friends with them, but must leave to find others like her, and jumps off the roof while the others watch in awe of her abilities.
And with that, the movie ends. We hope you enjoyed our video. Watch the next recaps on the screen, and don't forget to subscribe for more amazing recaps. See you in the next one.